my special friend and special guest tonight. He is my friend, but unfortunately he's no longer friends with the governor. I tell you, him and the governor just don't get along for some reason. I don't know why, but they just can't seem to agree on things. But I think she's taken you off her Christmas list, hasn't she? Anyway, I want to introduce to you the Kansas House Majority Leader Dan Hawkins. And I'm going to let him talk a little bit about how these local races affect us up in Topeka, because they do. Thank you.
Well, number one, it is a pleasure to be here this evening to talk with each and every one of you just about how important it is that we get people out in these local elections. But David brought up, and Pat would probably concur, the governor does not like me very well, and quite frankly, the feeling's mutual. Actually, I've known the governor a long time, served with her. She was a senator when I started out as a representative, and as I came up through the ranks and became the health chair, she was prominent on the Senate side in health policy, so I worked with her quite a bit. Actually got along with her fairly well, but she didn't have the ego then that she has now. And so sometimes when you have a big ego, you have to kind of help them understand just how big their ego is, and it needs to come down a little bit. So I have this newsletter. Many of you probably get it. I know April, aka Amy. I know April gets my newsletter because she's told me many times. There's a lot of people up here that get it, but that's my method of getting my word out. We have about 12,000 people on our Friday morning email newsletter now, and so I get emails from all over the state when I say something poignant about the governor, and I have a habit of doing that pretty frequently. So we've got lots of different names for it, but this isn't about the governor. Actually, the governor is just one person. She's a person that has really brought out exactly how important local elections are. Up until 2020, when we have a coronavirus, nobody really thought that much. I mean, we've thought a long time about local elections, but we hadn't had a groundswell of people out there, activists that are actively recruiting for local elections. I go back to 2013 when I came in the legislature, and you start looking at the budget. These guys, when they first saw the budget, they probably went, how are we going to get through this? That figure, 63% is how much goes to all of education. 52% goes to just K through 12. 63% to all of education. 63 cents out of every dollar. 28 cents goes to social services and Medicaid. 28 cents. So how much does that leave? Figure it out. Leaves us about 9 cents of every dollar to pay for everything else in government. So if we want to cut government, what would be the first thing that you would cut? The biggest thing, schools. But if you cut schools, you know what happens? Supreme Court comes down on us. In fact, they don't even have to sue anymore because that suit is still a standing suit. That suit, that Gannon lawsuit, has never been dismissed. It is still a part of the Supreme Court's purview, and all they got to do if we don't give them the money is just say we've not complied with the Constitution, and so therefore you're going to have to go back and start working on the budget again. That's where local elections come in, because all we do is appropriate the money. That's all we do. We can't really tell the schools where to spend the money. We appropriate the money, we send it to the school districts, and the school districts decide. And the school districts have been made up by what? Mostly liberal people in the school boards. So they can get whatever they want. They can pass whatever they want on a local level. Can we do anything about it? Pat, can we do anything about it in Topeka?
No.
Zip. We can't do anything about how that money's spent. So how are we going to change it? The only way we can change that is to have good people step forward.
That's right.
Step up to the plate and take on probably one of the most difficult jobs, far more difficult than what we do up there, of dealing with the school board and the massive bureaucracy that's out there. You realize the school system is the biggest bureaucracy in the state of Kansas. There's no bureaucracy bigger. Now, they're made up of small school boards throughout the state, and then you've got the big Kansas State School Board, the overarching governing body when it comes to curriculum and various things that has to do with school. But even they don't spend the money. The local school boards spend the money. So that's how important that school board election is. And you know, if you go and look at the school boards, I would bet you most of those school boards probably have the school board member, the tenure there is probably 10 years, maybe farther. You know what the tenure is in the House of Representatives? The average tenure is only 6 years. We turn over constantly. We'll turn over 30% of our members in the next election in next year. In 2022, 30% of our members will be gone, and we'll have 30% brand new members. And some of them we don't want to lose, like David. If he decides not to come back, I'm going to have some tears in my eyes. But I understand. I want to say publicly, I hope he comes back. That has to be his choice. So we lose some really good ones, and we lose some really bad ones once in a while too, which is a good thing. Same thing that's happened in the local school boards happens in every city. Every city council is made up of either Democrats or Republicans who ought to be Democrats because they act like Democrats. Down home in Wichita, we lost a Democrat out of the House who became the mayor of the largest city in Kansas and is literally trying to destroy it. I mean, everything he can do. Latest thing is he's brought SOGI. What's SOGI? SOGI is sexual orientation and gender identity. He's brought that to Wichita City Council and is trying to pass an ordinance for that issue. So we're just screaming about him, but we can't do anything for another 2.5 years, 3 years, I guess it is, before he's gone. But hopefully he'll be a one-term mayor. City councils, do you realize that the government closest to the people is also the government has the biggest effect on the people? So our governor, our great governor, who we want to have leave our state here in another year and a half, she decided, early on to have a statewide mandate on masks. And we're only there in Topeka for about 3.5 months. We come the second Monday of January and we leave around the 1st of April, take April off, come back for a veto session of a couple of weeks, and then we're gone until the next January. So while we're gone, the bureaucrats can pretty much do whatever they want. They can't wait for us to leave, so they can get back to normal. Well, the governor's the same way. She can't wait for us to get out of there, because then there's there's nobody guarding what she does. There's nobody watching what she does. So she is always ready for us to leave. So she comes out with a mask mandate. We really can't do anything about that until we get back in January. And it's really one of the first times in my 9 years that I have seen a legislature spring to work so fast. Normally in the start of a biennium, it's a slow roll. It could take 3 weeks for us to really get started. There's a lot of reasons for that. You can come up with all kinds of reasons, but it's just the slowness of the system. This year, that didn't happen. We really sprang to work because we were prepared. We knew what we had to do, and we knew we had to control the governor and what she was doing. So we came in there with bills ready to go to work, ready to hear them, and let's move and stop her in what she did. So that KEMA bill was our effort to do that. KEMA is a Kansas Emergency Management Act. We've got so many acronyms. If I say an acronym, say, Dan, what's that acronym mean? Because we have lots of acronyms we use. But that KEMA bill was important because that's what put guardrails on the governor. Well, how did we do that? We did it by shifting it to the local counties. The counties became the entity that could say, yes, we're gonna have a mandate, or no, we're not. Guess what that showed us? That showed us how weak we were in our counties. In Sedgwick County, I thought we had 3 great guys. We didn't. They all voted against us. Literally, my council member, my county commissioner, who I knew well, called me and says, Dan, we need you to come to the county commission and kind of help us through this situation. And it was on a Sunday. I went on a Sunday to a county commission meeting before I went back to Topeka. And I told them, you can't do this mandate. It's a bad deal. You just can't do the mandate. So that would have been clear back in 2020 is when that was. And the next day, guess what they did? They all voted to do a mandate. Even their health officer said, no, it's not time yet. And they still did a mandate. And I was so mad at him, I said, you know, I think I'm going to come back and run against you. I called him. I was so mad. His name's David Dennis. I actually like him as a person, but he's so weak as a politician. He would not listen to what his constituents were telling him. He was listening to the loud progressive liberals out there that was pushing the narrative. And so even though my constituents and my district is much like your district, very conservative place, nobody was listening. And they decided to go off in a different direction. Well, that's in the county situation. That's still local. It's still local. That is how important it is for us to know who is representing us. Well, I thought he was a pretty good guy. He's not. You know, he folded. He absolutely folded when we needed him the most, and that was to stand up against this crap that they put out there. So that's why it is so important that we, day in and day out, make sure that our county commission, our city councilmen, and our school board members are all conservative. Yes. Because they can literally set the course for the rest of the state. What happens local really affects the rest of the state. Now, when it comes to some of the things like critical race theory, isn't it interesting? What, 3 months ago I didn't even know what that was. CRT. What the heck's CRT? That was a computer monitor, wasn't it? CRT. And now it's critical race theory. All of a sudden, that acronym has changed on me. I got to tell you, the world's passing me by. But we didn't even think about critical race theory. Now, critical race theory, when we get back next year in January, there'll probably be at least 4 bills for us to look at. I know that the education, the K through 12 education chairwoman, Christy Williams, I've already talked to her. She's going to be working on a critical race theory bill to try to stop it from an education standpoint. There's 3 others down in the Wichita area that's going to be working on it from a global standpoint, more of a global instead of just education. So there's going to be a lot. But guess what? None of them are going to go into effect. Not a one of them. Those 4 bills will all die. You know how they're going to die? The governor's going to veto them. She will not allow it to pass. That means for us to have it become law, we have to have 84 Republicans that will stand up and override her veto. We going to get 84?
We're not, unfortunately.
We're not. And why are we not?
Because the teachers' unions scare the hell out of rhinos.
6 of them.
Yeah.
There's 6 rhinos that the teachers' union will own and will stop it. So we can't pass it. And that's the one thing that's sad, is the situation we're in right now. We've got a Democrat governor that does not represent our state. Right. In no way does she represent our state. And we have a legislature that's actually moved in the right direction. When I came in, we had 97 Republicans. Today we've got 86. But we had 97 Republicans, but they weren't all good Republicans, or my Republicans. A lot of times they voted against us, so sometimes we had a hard time getting 63. We have 86 now, but I guarantee you I can count on 78 of them almost any day of the week. Maybe 75. We'll give a few. Not 84 though. So that's the reason why it's so important for us to get a governor back, because we don't have to have 84 if we got the right governor. We only have to have 63. It's just a math equation for us. But it's a very frustrating math equation, and it's just a math equation for you. You know, so now as you go about your work, and I listened to April talk when I got here about the number of people that they have to see to be able to get this vote and to make it work for Amy and for Dan. It's a math equation there too. You got to see enough people day in and day out, every single day, and and let them know very quickly, because you don't have a lot of time, exactly what you're about. So you need that 30-second elevator speech that you can do it quickly, and move on to the next one and get around to everybody. Only way you can do that is with an army. So if you're trying to do it yourself, you got to develop that army. I don't care how much money you don't have to have a lot, but you do have to have a lot of people helping you. You have to have an army to help you. If you've got an army out there going door to door, you can beat a lot of money. I've seen it happen where literally we have people out there that have no money, but they've been able to develop an army, and they can go across their district and they can win. And I was one of those people that did it in 2012. The money was on the other side of my equation. All I had was just the money I had of my own. And I developed a little army that went out there day in and day out, and we won, and we won decisively with very little money. They outspent us 3-1, and we won. So money is not the issue. It's how many people you can get out there to help you in this endeavor. This is a war. We're in a war. We are true. I say this day in and day out in Topeka. We are in a war. It's not a war. It's not a physical war, but it's a war of ideas, and it's a war of ideology. It's a war, and it's really a religious war. Is what it really is. Literally, we have to go about it like that. We have to develop that army, just like a real army. We have to develop the same thing for us, an army of people that will go out there day in and day out and help us get this done. I do like what your two candidates said here tonight. I love what your candidate said, and I love what Dan said, that this is about us, because it truly is about us. It's not about me, it's not about David, it's not about Pat, not about Amy or Dan. It's about us as a community. And if we really work hard as a community, we can do almost anything. There's very little that we can't do. I can tell you that these two, you guys are lucky that you got two people in Topeka like David and Pat. Both of them have stood up and done work. I started off this year, and I'm going to tell a little thing about Pat. I've been there 9 years. And in 9 years, there's never been a freshman that got a bill across the line and signed by the governor. Never. And so early on in this session, I knew Pat. I talked to Pat a lot, and I knew what he wanted to do. And I told him, I said, probably not going to happen. In fact, in front of all the freshmen, it was over at one of the lobbyists. It was a dinner, or I guess it was
the freshman luncheon.
Oh, that's right. It was the freshman luncheon. They asked
Not that I remember it.
Yeah, you do remember. They asked me over to talk, and I went up there and talked, and I told them, I said, listen, I said, you've got to learn the process. Just like a baby has to learn to walk before it runs, has to learn to crawl before it walks. Same thing there. You have to learn the process before you can really get things done. And I said, there's a lot of bills that have been brought by you freshmen. And I said, how many are going to get through the whole process and get signed by the governor and become law? And there was a couple of different answers, but the common one was 0. And I said, you're right, 0. None is going to happen. There isn't going to be a single one. I got to take my words back, and I apologize because that man did it. And in fact, before the end of the session, I had him in my office, and I said, man, it pains me, but I got to tell you, Pat, you did a hell of a job. So you got a good one. So I know his passion. I know David's passion, because David called me and said, hey, Dan, would you come up and talk? And I said, let me see what I can do. And a lot of people said, you're going to go up and talk for David French? I said, yeah, he asked. Anybody that asks if I can do it, I'm going to come and do it. And so for me, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to watch people do the things that they need to do to make their communities bright and shiny and vibrant again. And the only way we can do that is by having good conservative people out there that are gonna do what it takes in this endeavor. It's tough, it's hard work, but nothing's ever, anything that's worthwhile is never gonna be easy. It's always gonna be hard. It's always gonna be filled with challenges. Go out there and get it done. Become what you're trying to do and help your community do what they want, and it'll all work out great. With that, thank you. It's been a pleasure being here, and